Welcome to the Cornerbird Studio. In another episode of Cornerbird Nomad Sculpt Favorites, let me show you how to get this camera flash effect on your sculpts. Let's go. I have two sets of sculpts here ready for lighting. If you don't have a sculpt to work with, you can quickly import a preset mesh from the Files tab, click on the preset button on the top left corner, or scroll down and click on the realistic posable female asset, click it twice, then click Add to Scene to bring it in. I like to work at the world origin, so activate the Gizmo tool to move the mesh. You can select Gizmo from the right toolbar or toggle it from the left shortcut bar. I have Gizmo mapped to my macropad, so I'll be toggling Gizmo with my hotkey. With Gizmo selected, open the Gizmo menu at the top right, then reset the position to 0 and bring the mesh up. We'll need a wall to cast shadows on, and we can use the plane for that. So in the Outliner tab, using the Add menu here, select Plane to add a new plane to the scene. Then activate the Snap function on the left Gizmo toolbar, set it to 90 degrees. With the Snap function, I can rotate the plane 90 degrees to form our wall. I'll position it close to the base mesh like this. To color the plane, open the Strokes Painting tab from the bottom left, select a color of your choice, then click Paint All. Now we have a dark blue wall. Let's move on to the next step. Head over to the Shading tab and switch to Lit PBR mode. Now we can see the material attributes and the lights in the scene. We will start with the material setup first. My sculpts have a mix of default and subsurface materials, and we can do the same setup with the preset mesh. So I'll duplicate the mesh, move it to the left, and while everything is still selected, I'll open the Materials tab. By default, the material is opaque, and we want to change this to subsurface. Onto the subsurface settings, I like to keep the depth value low, around 0.02, like Hachiwari here. The subsurface value is around 0.01 to 0.03. But for this human candle, I'll set it to 0.2. It looks great like this. Now to the lights. By default, the environment light is enabled. We are not using this, so let's switch this off. Under the Lights tab, click on Add Light. We can choose to use this directional light or change it to a spotlight. To change this to a spotlight, click on the directional icon in the center toolbar, then select Spot. I'll show you how my setup looks with both. To emulate the flash effect, we can place a strong spotlight at the eye level of the sculpts. Imagine that you're standing in the scene and taking a camera shot with the flash on. That's the look that we are going for. I'll first move the spotlight away from the sculpt. Toggle the Gizmo mode and move it away. I think this placement is good. For this specific sculpt, I find that the lighting looks good when I point the light source upwards. We can do that easily by using this green handle here. We can drag the orange handle to adjust the spotlight radius and the blue handle to adjust the softness of the edges. And look at the cool cast shadows on the wall. For the cute Halloween gang, I set up another spotlight like this. I like how the cast shadow looks with the spotlight angle. So I'm not just looking at how the lighting looks, I'm also being intentional with how the shadows are placed. If I'm using the directional light, I can use one light source to light the whole scene. From top down it looks like sunlight, but if we flip it up, it will look like the flash effect that we're looking for. Both lighting effects can look good depending on your camera angles. And for both directional and spotlights, different lighting angles will create different moods and different shadow shapes. So have fun experimenting with them. With the light setup, we can move on to the final step. Let's open the Quality tab and enable the Post-Process mode. We'll be using the Post-Process settings to adjust the final look. First, we have Global Illumination, Ambient Occlusion, and Bloom. You can copy my settings if you want to. I don't like how the reflection looks on the metal ball, so I have reflection off. Turn that on if it looks good on yours. Now to the most important setting for this tutorial, we have Tone Mapping. This operation remaps the HDR values in the scene to the 0 and 1 range. I don't know the specifics, so I'm just choosing based on what looks best to me, which is the AGX option. Then I'll increase the contrast slightly to restore the dark blacks. A Cornerbird pro tip, in my experience of using tone mapping, I try not to go crazy with these sliders because I don't want my viewport to look drastically different whenever I toggle post-processing. For example, I can decrease the contrast and saturation for my base colors, then crank up the tone mapping to get this final look. The problem with this is that we have to paint new objects with the same color scheme, then toggle tone mapping every time to check the final look, which is quite a tedious process. I've made this mistake before and I don't recommend it. So if I know that I like my color saturated with this good amount of value contrast, I try to paint this in from the start. This way I don't have to adjust the tone mapping as much. Same with exposure, I try to light my scene with the appropriate brightness before I tone map. So if I find the scene too dark, instead of increasing the exposure, I'll adjust the lights first to see if that works better. After I get the colors and light sources pretty close to what I want, this is the time when I activate tone mapping and do a back and forth adjustment between the tone mapping settings, material colors, and light brightness. So take your time to try different variations and see what you like for your own sculpt. After experimenting with the settings, I end up with this overexposed light source that gets remapped to this beautiful look with AGX. Moving on to the next post-process operation, I'll use color grading to tweak the colors a bit. This is my curve adjustments. You can copy it if you want to, but it is quite specific to the colors in my scene. Next, I'll enable curvature with black for both bump and cavity. I'm just using a tiny amount to bring out the edges, and this little bit really polishes the overall look. Last but not least, enable chromatic aberration, vignetting, grain, and sharpness. Just a little bit of each to refine the look. And this is the final result. This was so fun to make. It makes my sculpt look so cool, and my cute sculpt even cuter. I hope that you have fun trying this out on your sculpts too. Happy Halloween, and I will see you in the next one.